Welcome to At the Ready podcast, where we gear up men to navigate life's battles with purpose. Join us as we arm ourselves with wisdom, faith, and a community of men prepared to walk this life together. Now let's get ready. On this episode of At the Ready, I sat down with Joe Morris. Joe is a Hall of Fame high school football coach. He's coached Mayfield High School here in Mayfield, Kentucky for 25 years. He's been their head coach. And in those 25 years, he's won 7 state titles, played in 14 state championship games. He's won most of Mayfield's 13 state championships. We're talking one of the most winningest high school programs in the nation. And we talk about being a head coach of a program like that. We talk about what it's like to be a winner, what are some expectations he has of his players, and just raising up good men. All those things we talk about today. Joe's a super good guy, is a pillar of our community, and it was good to just talk to him today and see the path he's taken to get where he is and how he got successful in coaching, and then now what he's looking forward to now, the next play that he has in his life. Great episode today. Great kickoff to season 2. This is definitely one you'll want to share with your friends if they're a football player or a coach or just love the game. This is one you'll want to sit down and listen to. Listen to a pillar of a community, a coach who is in the Hall of Fame and spent his life dedicated to the sport. So sit down, listen up as I talk to my now good friend, Joe Morris. Now let's get ready. All right, Joe Morris, welcome to At the Ready podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Excited.
It's great to have you. This season of At the Ready, it's kind of starting to come up with a theme. I kind of felt like God was leading me in a little bit different direction for this season, and I was talking with one of my friends. We were just brainstorming on what are we going to do next, And I said, I really want to get some coaches in here because coaches have a major impact on a young man's life, especially depending on what age group you're coaching. Maybe not as much elementary, but you get into that middle school and high school level, those young men are very easily influenced, and a good positive role model can make a big difference, even if they're not family or dad. And, in this case, some of them maybe don't even have a dad, and the coach figure is that. And my friend was like, Lee Cooley, he's been on the show a couple of times. Me and him were working out one day, and he said, what about Joe Morris? And I said, I don't know him, but I'm going to reach out and see. And so here you are. I appreciate you coming.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro for those who may not know you. In this area, you're pretty well known. We just went and ate at a local restaurant, and you're about as bad as me. Everybody in there was like, "Oh, hey Joe, hey Brad, hey Joe." I bet we talked to a dozen people while we were in there.
Yeah, that's that small town that loves for football, and that happens a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
When walk into even Walmart to go to the grocery store,
Yeah.
and we have to stop and talk to some people about Mayfield football.
So I could see where being that small town football head coach could be one or the other. Like if you're a winning coach, everybody loves you. But if you're a losing coach, you may be getting stopped to say, "Hey, coach, let me offer you some suggestions for next season."
No doubt about it. Win a state championship, you're king around here a little bit.
Yeah.
Everybody's patting you on the back saying
Right.
what a great job you did. But I go back to 2007 or 2008. We didn't. And I think we finished the season like 8-5 or something like that. We were a little bit down, and we lost a game one time. My son was about 2 years old. My daughter was about 5 years old, and we lost the game, and got to be pretty good. But get in my truck, come home after the game, and there's 3 for sale signs in my yard.
Wow.
I said, "Hey, this tough gig right here,
Yeah.
and luckily my kids didn't see it, but my son was too young to really know what it was about.
Right.
So, but, as soon as I pulled in, I just took the signs out, put them in my garage, and went on and kept doing the best I could do. So that's different.
Well, let me give you a little bit of an intro. So you're recently retired this past year, retired Mayfield High School football coach, head coach. You had 25 seasons at Mayfield High School. You finished there with a career record of 300 wins and 56 losses. You made 21 of the 25 seasons. You made 21 trips to the state semifinals. You played in 14 state championships, and you won 7 of those state championships. Mayfield High School, as a school, has 13 state championships. So you've won most of their state championships. And then in 2022, you were inducted into the National High School Coaches Association Hall of Fame. That's just 2 years removed there. And then you're a husband and a father of 5. Did I get it all?
That is correct. Except I'm not sure I got 300 wins. I'm going to have to go back.
You're going to have to look at that?
And I don't like the only thing that I don't like what you said is you did this, because it takes a lot of people to do that. And that's anybody that knows me knows that's one word I did not use is me or I did this or I did. I do not like that, especially in sports. Especially a team sport like football. I mean, it takes our assistant coaches, it takes the players, it takes our administration, the community. Yeah, it takes a lot of people, and I do not like when this is what you did and this is your accomplishments. I said this is our accomplishment. Yeah. This is what we all did.
Well, I'm sure everybody appreciates the humility, and you're right. I know that what you're saying is absolutely true. But when you're the man, when you're the guy, a lot of times it weighs on you and your shoulders alone. Just like you talked about the loss. The time you had the loss and you lost pretty good. Did your assistant coaches, did they have for sale signs in there?
There is some truth to that. Yes, that is true, and I do, and any head coach does put probably more pressure on yourself. But when that's what if I did, I feel like if I didn't put the pressure, if I wasn't nervous before a game, I don't need to be doing this job. I don't care. Pretty much any game that we ever played, I'm nervous. Whether it's making sure that we're prepared, but I think most times we went out there, we were prepared to play a game, and but you do put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah. So I don't know a ton about you, Joe. Like I lived in this town my whole life, and you have too for the most part. So just give me a little bit of your backstory. Like, when did you start coaching? What's your legacy? Where did you come from?
Well, I've been around this football program my whole life. My dad was a coach here from. He started back in 1960. He left to go to Paducah Tillman, I think, in 1968. Then came back to Mayfield and started coaching in 1969, and was the head coach here all the way through '92. So, my whole childhood. I was born in 1965. My whole childhood was, at Mayfield football games and in the locker rooms. One thing about me in our program, I had every possible spot that you could have, from equipment, ball boy, water boy, player, assistant coach on the freshman level, assistant coach on the varsity level, then to be the head coach. So I've been pretty much any steps that you can have. So I grew up here, and then I went to UT Martin, played 2 years of football down there, finished my degree at Murray State University. Came back here in 1987, I believe, was my first year to coach. So I was just a paraprofessional, still in school. I was assistant freshman coach. Got to learn, I think that's one thing that I did. I tried to learn from each and every coach that I've got to coach with or play with. And
so you started coaching when I was 1 year old.
That's why I'm retired. So I got a lot of this gray hair here. But I got to coach with great coaches. The only time that I use the word "I" is I always say I did hire these coaches here. I hired our good coaches, and And I had a great staff. Got to coach under some great players. Got to coach with my dad a couple of years. My dad was my coach. Learned so much from him. I got to learn so much from Coach Lewis McDonald, who was my offensive line coach, and he passed away, and I think it was 1990, early of 1990, and then I basically I stepped in his role, and he's talking about big shoes to fill. That was big shoes to fill, but my dad taught me just to work hard at it. And now I'm married, got 3 step-kids. 2 of them are in college. One just graduated from law school. One's going to graduate from law school next year. And I got my daughter, who's at Murray State University, going to be in education. Mm-hmm. Her first year, she's doing great. Then my other stepdaughter is a junior at Mayfield High School, and then my son, the youngest, he'll be a sophomore, still on the team. And that was hard for me. For making the right decision to step down and to retire. Yeah. Did I want to coach him? But I think after at this decision to retire, I think I looked at talked to Abram several times, and I think I just want to step back and be a parent. Mm-hmm. Sit there and watch him play, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I didn't even really think about that when you said your son, he's still got 3 more years to play, and you're stepping down. I immediately thought, like, man, why would you not want to? But it's way more enjoyable. I've helped coach some of my kids in sports, but once they kind of hit the middle school level, I was like, okay, that's getting above my expertise. I'll just let the guys paid to do it handle that. But a lot of times it's way more enjoyable to just be a dad, and I don't have to really. I try not to. I try to let the coaches do the critiquing of my son, and I try and just build him up. And we may talk about what he did wrong because my son plays football too, but I really just try and encourage, and because I feel like that's the job of the parent more so than the
100%. 100%. You talk about sometimes if parents would just let their kids play and have fun, it'd be a lot better instead of critiquing them. Sometimes that's good, but sometimes critiquing them, they really don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes let the guys coach, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit back and let these guys coach. Now my son asked me about something, sure. I think I've earned that.
He'd be silly not to, right?
But hey, I'm going to let him play. I'm going to let him enjoy his time, and I'm excited about watching him.
And football, I didn't play as a kid. I wish I did, but I wasn't very athletic through my high school years. I really didn't start to gain athleticism until I was like an adult, and so I was a late bloomer. But football can teach so many lessons in life in general, on top of athletics and sports and physical fitness. But I try to. The only thing I try and critique my son on personally is just his work ethic. When my son says, I want to sign up and I want to do this, I usually have that talk with him. All right, if this is something that you're going to do, then we're going to work hard at it, and you're going to try your best, and we're not going to quit halfway through the season. And you're going to give me good work ethic. Now, as far as critiquing him about, hey, you dropped this ball because of this, or because my son plays, receiver, or you could have run that route better, or something like that, I try and leave that to the coaches because I don't know that much about that.
That's basically the only thing that I've ever told our players. Like you said, it does teach life lesson, discipline. I always tell our guys is how you gonna handle adversity. Life throws you a lot of curveballs. Everybody knows that. Yeah. And football, right now it teaches that. I don't care. Teams are going to score. You're going to face adversity during the game. Mm-hmm. And I see, the great teams that we've had. When we have adversity, we just go on and I always say, how are you going to handle adversity? Are we going to start pointing fingers at one another? Are we going to be a family and we're going to be together and, pat them on the rear and say, it's okay. Yeah. And that's, I think that's one thing that, basically if you're going to, was on my staff, you're going to do that. Now, we're going to coach them hard. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're going to coach them hard, but Every time I say, you get on a player, that's fine. A couple plays later, whether it's in practice or a game, we're going to coach them hard, but then go pat them on the butt and say, hey, we love you, and say that's okay. All we're trying to do is make you better.
Yeah.
We're not on you, because we don't like. We're trying to make you a better player. We're trying to make this team a better team. We love you. Keep working.
Yeah.
And we always do that. Always come back. And how you gonna handle adversity? And what you just said before every game, I said, hey, give me 100%. That's what else can I ask you to do except give me 100%.
Right.
Play with discipline. Okay, make sure you're disciplined. Help your teammates out. And when something bad happens a lot, play the next play. That's all you can do.
Yeah. I like how you said that that's y'all's coaching style of you're going to coach them hard, because I think that's important. If you're hard on them, if they practice harder than they play, then the game seems easier. So as coaches, if y'all are riding them pretty hard, I know it seems like you're being hard on them, but you're actually building them and strengthening them. So then when they get in the game, they're like, this is easy. Coach Morris is way harder on me than this game is. But then you follow that up with some positive reinforcement of
all the time, especially with young kids, and they are young kids. I mean, they're teenagers, and they, hey, my son's one of them. He thinks he knows a lot more than he does.
Yeah, trust me.
We got him.
15.
But they're teenagers, and I didn't. Coaches do affect a lot of kids' lives. I mean, it don't work all the time, and our coaches bend over backwards to try to help these kids. Our teachers at our school do that. I mean, we got an awesome school system over there, and that really try to help kids out and get them through hard times. Sometimes those kids don't realize that, but we do. Mm-hmm. And I'm just fortunate to be able to coach and teach in the school system like Mayfield, and that supported me. But I didn't realize probably the effect that I've had on certain kids till I retired. Mm-hmm. Because I can't tell you how many texts that I got from former players.
Yeah.
That was, made me tear up.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Yeah, I can understand that. And I could see how your job as a coach too, the kid may not see the impact that you're having on their life in the moment, but to let them get to adulthood, and then later they're like, man, Coach Morris, if it wasn't for him, I would be here, or I wouldn't be here, or, I appreciate the values that he taught me on the football field and how it's made me a better adult.
Right, and a lot of times they do when they're in high school, but yeah, it usually takes a few years saying, mm-hmm. I understand what Coach Hatcher or Coach Morris or Coach Dew or mm-hmm. One of our coaches. I understand this now, and that meant a lot.
Yeah, I could see that. One of the questions I had talking about your coaching career. So 99 is when you became the head coach, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Were there other coaches in the running? My question is, how did you set yourself apart as a coach? How did you set yourself apart from the other coaches to be like, all right, Joe Morris is the one we want for a head coach spot?
Well, of course, I started back in 87. I think my first year was 87 as a paraprofessional. And, of course, I was, with my dad through 92. And then Paul Leahy took over, mm-hmm. and I was his offensive coordinator. And, we had a lot of success, together with Coach Leahy and our whole staff there. And basically I was the oldest guy there, and I was 32, 33 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And, Coach Leahy stepped down. He retired about the same age I did, maybe a little bit earlier than I did. And when he stepped down, it was if it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's let Joe have a chance. And basically, at that time they didn't even interview anybody else. They just said, Coach, you've earned this right here. You've worked your tail off for this program. You've earned this right, and that's kind of what we did with Coach Dude. After that, and we've been successful. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Yeah. And but I tell you, I didn't realize it was a lot different when you are the guy on top. It is different, and there is pressure to win.
Yeah.
But main thing, we want to make these kids become better.
Yeah.
Become better fathers and
Mm-hmm.
better students. And I tell them all the time, you're a student athlete. Sometimes some of them don't take. You got to stay on them, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
But they, like you said, they will understand it later. And I just took the job, and there was a lot of pressure to keep it going. I mean, we'd won a lot of football games around here for a long time. I mean, way back. I can't remember the last losing season that we've had. I mean, probably back in the 50s, maybe.
Yeah.
So that that's pressure.
Yeah.
That's pressure.
Yeah, Mayfield High School, I looked it up before we did this interview because I was just trying to do my research. Top 5 winningest high schools in the nation.
4, I believe now. We're 4.
Top 4? Number
we are
4
4.
now?
I think we're 4, maybe close to 3.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say top 5 because I didn't want to get the wrong number. But if you say 4, I believe you. And that's upwards of like 900 and something wins. And y'all are – I say y'all because my kids we bleed blue, but we'll get into that later.
You got a red shirt on today. I got it.
But you're 2A or single A, right? That's kind of the flip. You kind of flip flop between those two.
We have, yes. Yeah. First I think I can't remember all the way up to I think the 14 we were Class A.
Yeah.
Enrollment grew a little bit, and they reclassified and took fewer teams in A. Then we became AA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, the Mayfield school system, I have cousins who have kids the same age, that go to my uncle has coached baseball for Mayfield several years. Robert's my uncle.
Okay. I did not know that.
So
Robert coached my son.
Yeah.
Baseball. Yeah.
Well, our kids actually played on the same Abram and Evan played on the same baseball team, like a rec league team for Robert several years ago.
Yes, he did.
So,
yes.
I have been around the Mayfield school system a lot, even though my kids are not in it. And I will say, from what I can see, outside looking in, it's an excellent school system. And so I can see why enrollment would increase. When you have a good school system, people want their kids to be a part of that. Mayfield, to me, seems to be very community-driven,
It is a great community for our schools,
Mm-hmm.
Mayfield and Grace County. I mean, our community gets behind it, and that's why we got 2 great school systems here. But our faculty and staff, retiring superintendent Mr. Henderson, who I did hire. I use the I word. I hired him to be a coach 22 years ago, and then he ended up becoming my boss.
Yeah.
So. Then there's, Mr. Edwards, our incoming superintendent, and all the principals that I've worked for. I think I've had 6. I'm not going to name them because I forget one of them, like we talked about earlier. But man, they've just been so supportive, and this community, like you said, this community is fantastic, supporting, not only our schools but our sports programs, which I think is a big part, and. We got a great school system and a great community, and I love it here.
Yeah. What did you teach?
Well, when I first started off, was probably the most fun I had ever teaching was my first job was teaching elementary PE.
Oh, okay.
But I was in the in-school detention, teaching kids that were in a little bit of trouble that we wanted to keep them around and getting them back to the classroom without messing up their work. But it was a challenge sometimes, but it was okay.
I could see how that coaching role is a good fit for that position because you already have that coach voice, almost kind of like the dad voice, and you're used to yelling at kids. And sometimes, kids need some tough love. And I do. Just from our conversation right now, I can see where, you will apply the discipline, but from a place of we're doing this because we want to see you get better,
And that's what we all do, in the education profession. We want that student to get better or that athlete to get better. And we want to become better people. It don't always work. We know that. We try, but, but if you make make a difference in just one person's life, it makes it worthwhile. And teachers and coaches alone, they do a lot to help change people's lives, and I'm just very fortunate and blessed that I got to do that.
Yeah. The impact that you leave, and hopefully the footprint that you leave, makes up for maybe the lack of pay and appreciation that teachers get sometimes, because it's not the most well-paid job out there.
Oh.
It does have its benefits of, summers off and, different stuff, but you are getting to make an impact and try and make an impression on the next generation. So speaking of that, as a coach and as you get older, you said you took over the head coaching job when you were, in your 30s.
Yes.
As you progressed and you got older, how do you still stay relevant and connected with the kids? So, as a man, you're growing older, but your kids, they stay the same age. You're coaching high school ball, so you're getting kids, around 15 to 18, 14 to 18.
Well, I really feel like that I became a better coach each year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one thing that, I work very hard on in the off season, not just resting on what we've done, just doing little things to make us better. Might just be one or two little things differently. And, I pick brains of other coaches and, get on the phone with, buddies across the state that that I've got to meet and, just talk football and talking football with, other assistants that I brought in. They all bring in different ideas, and some I like, some I didn't like, but you just can't rest on that. But now the social media part of it right now is it's kind of passed me by just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just keeping up with the kids, it's not that hard. Bottom line is, you want them to respect you, but you have. Bottom line is, it's building relationships with them. It's not really what the social media thing's a little different, but football coaching is about building relationships. It's real. I mean, a lot of people know how to line them up.
Yeah.
Be sound on offense, be sound on defense, and what works for them. And but you got to build relationships, and some kids you can build a relationship pretty quick. Yeah. Others it takes a couple years.
Yeah.
You really. But time they're senior, if you're a senior on a team, you've got a pretty good relationship with that kid, and that's what it's about. I mean, it's about building relationships and those kids trusting you, and sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to get the trust,
mm-hmm.
but I mean, I think that's what it's about, and I think that's what me and our staff have done a great job of, is building relationships with our kids. We tell them all the time. We put our arm around them, say, "Hey, we love you.
Yeah.
We're not mad at you. We love you. We're just trying to make you better." And it's a really good family atmosphere over there.
So you try and do it more from a place of respect and trust and love than being their friends. So what I'm getting at is, sometimes we think, well, I'm older than them, they won't look at me as a friend. You're not even trying to do that.
No,
you're like, hey,
no.
I'm your coach. I'm somebody you should respect. But then you can also trust me, and I'm here for you, and I'm going to make you better.
Yeah, I've told our kids a lot, guys, I know there's times you hate me.
Mm-hmm.
You hate our staff when we're out there and it's 100 degrees out there on that practice field, and we're making you do this drill. We're making you do stations for a minute, and we understand that, you know, but all we're trying to do is make you better. And but at the end of the day, we're going to put the arm around them and, tell them what we think of them, tell them how much we love them, and appreciate what they're doing for our school, and try to make them the best athlete they can possibly be. We don't have a lot of guys that go on to the next level and play college. We got a few.
Yeah.
It's tough. That's a tough thing. People don't understand how tough it is to jump from, high school to the college level. It's a tough transition. Same way it is from middle school to high school. It's a tough transition. But we just stay on top of them. We stay on them about their schoolwork. Mm-hmm. So got a couple that They get mad at you. I got it, coach. I got it. No, you don't have it.
Yeah.
Here, look at this grade here. And that made computers and stuff. Social that's made it easier checking kids' grades. Yeah. But they don't understand at the time. But like you said, later on in life, they understand what that means.
Yeah. So back to the building the relationship. I can see how that would make a big impact if they respect you. You have their respect, and they trust in you. I could see how you could go up to a player, during an intense game. Maybe it's close or you're even behind, and you come up to them and say, this play, I need you. I need 110%. I need you to force the fumble. I need you to run. I need you to not get tackled. Because of that relationship, they're going to put out a little bit harder for you. Whereas if that respect wasn't there, they'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But because of that relationship, they're going to leave it all out there on the field.
Well, it's that, and being, wanting to do it for their teammates as well. That's what football. It takes so many people in football. Not like golf. You go out there, it's you.
Yeah.
Or hitting a baseball. Yeah, you got a team, but one guy's hitting a baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Football. It takes. I don't care how good a running back you got, receiver, how good a quarterback. If you can't block, you can't. It takes all 11 guys every time you're out there to be successful, to be winning. And
yeah.
When you go out there and we're needing that yard, I wouldn't say they're doing it for me, but they're doing it for their teammates, and they're doing it for this community that backs them. We got great crowds out there, so and that makes it better. And the one thing that I said when I got hired, my job, I inherited a job that the tradition was just unbelievable. It still is.
Yeah.
Luckily after my 25 years as head coach, it still is.
Mm-hmm.
But I inherited that. My job was to keep that going. And that luckily we did, and it's it's going better than ever.
Yeah. So that that is something. The Mayfield High School football tradition is very strong, and I think you guys do a good job of instilling that tradition and those values in those players from a really young age. Like I've heard, I don't know because I'm not in the program, and I don't want to steal any Mayfield secrets, but when they start in like the second or third grade, aren't they already starting to learn the schemes, learn the plays, learn the formations to that they're going to be playing when they get to high school?
It used to be way more of that back when, football has changed.
Yeah.
Football has changed, where it's used to be, everybody was packed in tight, and, you threw it if you had to.
Yeah.
The game of football has changed from, pro football to college football to high school football, and I think that's one thing me and our staff did is, we had to change with the times. And, we used to be a 3-back, run the ball, play action.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did. And I figured out, I sat there and looked, we had some guys that weren't very big, but they could run.
Mm-hmm.
They could catch a ball. Had a couple of guys that throw it, and I went to a guy named Tony Franklin. He was here with us, and Tony he coached with her a couple years here, went on to be the head coach at Mercer County High School, then went to the University of Kentucky. He ended up being he started out as running back coach, offensive coordinator. Then he's been all over the country and coaching coaching college football.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a little package and taught us how to throw the ball, how to practice throwing the ball, and that was kind of new to me,
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing that me and our staff did is we took that and we didn't have the big guys that we needed to knock people off the ball, so basically we spread it out, threw it out there, and let God do his thing.
Yeah.
Put guys in the right situations, and everybody always asked, "What kind of defense you run, Coach?" What kind of? I said, "Well, we kind of." It kind of depends on the players that we have that year.
Yeah.
You know, we've been a 3-man front, we've been a 5-man front. Right now we're a 4-man front, just because that's what our personnel is dictating. And you know, at a small school, that's what you have to do. You don't have that scheme. You know, it's not like a college you can recruit to that. We got to recruit to whatever we have. We got to adjust our system to our players.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done a great job.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I went to Graves County High School, and I was one of like 387 or something in my graduating class, and that's like the population of your entire school.
That is correct.
You know,
yes.
So you're pulling from a lot smaller pool than, say, like a Graves County High School, but your tradition is so thick that kids want to play football.
That's correct.
And so I almost got in the mindset of like, hey, you guys have your plays, you have your schemes that you're going to run, and that's just what you run year in, year out, and it's been successful. But you're saying the opposite. Hey, no, every year to year we might have to look at something different.
You know, absolutely, we have to. You know, I mean, you know, a few years ago we didn't have what we called our wide receiver, just like a tight end. We were basically four wide receivers with one running back at all time, and you know, now we got that tight end. You know, we've got 2 good tight ends, so you know, we're even getting 2 tight end sets, 1 tight end sets, and do that most of the time right now. So, you know, because that's the personnel that we have, and you know, but one thing to our success, and you know, that's I've been so fortunate, and that's probably because we've had a lot of players over the years that understand, you know, some football, but you know, getting these little league coaches, you know, same thing. You know, we're not trying to out scheme anybody.
Yeah,
build relationships with them, make football as fun as possible, keep those kids out there. Like you said, you know, our graduate, you know, we don't have that big a, you know, we graduate about anywhere from 100 to 115 to 20 every year.
Yeah,
sometimes it's been lower than that.
Wow.
And so, you know, and half of those are girls. So we got to keep
keep
those guys. We got to keep them interested.
Yeah.
It's easy to get distracted today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so much more going on than there used to be. So
and now for whatever reason, I don't know why this became popular, but probably parents. But they think it's a good idea to specialize in one sport by the time they get to high school. I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. Now, you know, my son just plays 2. He plays football and basketball, and those 2 are year round, basically. You know, by when one's over,
no doubt.
The next one.
No
you know,
doubt.
but at the same, you know, you pick stuff up from other sports that help you in your main sport or your priority. So.
Trust me, if they're good enough to play basketball, I'm encouraging them to play basketball. I mean, you can go talk to our basketball coach. You know, we have to do that with small school. We got to encourage that.
Right.
And playing baseball, hey, I want them out. You know, there's a lot of ways kids can get in trouble out there today.
Yeah,
and
true.
you know, sports, good coaches, man, it can make it makes your school better. It can make your community better, and then, like I say, it makes your son or daughter better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, like I said, my son plays 3 sports. You know, 2 in the fall, he plays golf and plays football, and then plays tennis in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
He even played basketball this year, but you know, he is giving that up because he's a 5 foot.
Yeah,
he's a 5'9" post player. So, but
he didn't get the height. But
he did not get my height. I mean, he got my height. That's it.
Yeah.
And he's a post player in my quickness. You know, so that's not very good.
Yeah.
So, you know, I love them. I love them involved, and I love all our kids involved. And the more kids you can get in sports, and you know, in high school sports, is, you know, it's great. And you know, I feel like it's, you know, the greatest thing there is a high school sport.
Yeah, it teaches them a lot more than just athleticism if you have good people leading the programs like yourself. So I think that's great.
Appreciate that.
What you was talking about the elementary coaches? Do y'all have a good? I know a couple of them, so I already know the answer to this. But for those who are listening, do y'all have a good group of men who are? Because you know those aren't paid positions generally. So
no, they're you know, they're out there on their own time. You know, most of the time they got, you know, some of them, you know, most of them have, you know, their sons are playing.
Right.
But yeah, I probably got 5 or 6 out there that just they want to help the program. And man, I don't want to start naming names, but I mean I can name 2 or 3, but I'm sure I'd miss somebody. But they just want to help the program win and keep the program where it is. And they donate. They take off. They might take off work 30 minutes early to get to practice and help these kids out. And yes, I mean it's unbelievable what we have. And
do you have any past players who are now coaching for you?
Oh,
or coaching at the lower
yes.
leagues?
No doubt. Like, I mean, I'm going to mention his name because I just, he doesn't have a kid in the program. Is Brad Power? I don't know if you know Brad. Worked at Power Trust. He's where I can't tell you how many times he's been in our little league program. Doesn't have a son.
Yeah.
That's out there playing. He just does it to help the program. And
Maybe just loves the game of football.
And we've got more. Blake Russ. I know Blake Russ did it. Xavier Shelton. There's just guys out there trying to help kids, and they kind of like football, and they like they were players, but I think just they want to see the program keep succeeding, and basically when we talk to those guys, we just say make sure you keep them. We want every kid to play. Go out there and make it fun for them. We're not on the field for 2-hour practice. You're out there 1 hour, get them on and off the field. Play games, have a little fun.
Yeah.
And it's of course I do need to mention his name because he's kind of running it right now. It's a guy named Colt Haley. I don't know if you know Colt, man. He played at Grays, but man, I can't tell you what he's done for our little league program. I mean, I can't thank him enough, and I don't thank him enough, to be honest with you. And I do, but I don't. But
Colt's a friend of mine, and he's probably going to be on this show too. I've already talked to him about it.
He's great.
Yeah, he was a year, maybe 2 years behind me in school, and he was a heck of a player and athlete. And,
but the bottom line is, though, it's the same way we talk about. He treats kids the right way.
Yeah,
and he builds relationships with these kids, and that's what it's about.
Me and him went to we went to a tryout in our region. They do that Kentucky versus Tennessee game for the middle school, and so I took my son. I said, if anything, you'll at least know how you stack up against some other players. And one of the things I like about Colt is he showed up to that. It was a couple hours away, Central Kentucky, and he showed up for that. And he didn't just bring his son; he brought 3 other kids with him too.
Yes, that's
that aren't his son. So I actually felt a little bit bad when I got out of the truck with just my son, and I was looking at him, and he brought. But that's just the kind of guy and that's the kind of program that Mayfield has built too, and Graves too. But I'm talking to you, so that's why I'm mentioning Mayfield. Is just community trying to help everybody get better. So. There may be that mom or that dad who can take off to go to those things, but then 3 other players whose parents can't get them there, can't get off, and you see it all the time.
Or spend that type of money, people, that are, doesn't have the finances to get them to that game.
And then you'll see that Suburban or that van pull up and 6 kids pile out of it. It just kind of warms my heart when I see stuff like that.
That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
And those are the type of things that I hope that this podcast and just these conversations, those are the kind of things that I hope these things encourage those things of building community and helping men to get better and stuff like that. So, as a coach, what are some non-negotiables that you expect out of your players? Hey, if you're going to play for me, you got to meet these expectations, X, Y, and Z. What are those?
Well, one, grades.
Grades.
You got to keep. You're a student. You got to make. You're a student athlete. Sports are a privilege, and but you got to keep up with your grades, and we stay on them. We stay on them hard. But, the biggest thing is, being a good person in the school, not getting in trouble. And then, but the biggest thing about my expectations, one, is being there, and then effort. Mm-hmm. It's, before every game, my very first meeting I have, I said, guys, the only thing I'm going to ask of you, give me 100% every time. You make a mistake, you make it going 100%.
Yeah.
What else can I ask you to do? And that's, guys loafing on the field. That is non-negotiable. You know,
Yeah.
you're not going to be out there long
Yeah.
if you're not giving us effort. And then, you know, playing with class and character.
I was going to ask you about
Class and
attitude. What about an attitude? You know,
You're always going to have some. I mean, you're going to have an attitude on the field. You know, heat of the moment. You know, coaches say things. I mean, I've said stuff that I regretted.
Yeah.
You know, heat of the moment. That's going to happen. But you know, we want to play with class and character and respect your opponent. They're out there they're trying to beat you. You know.
Yeah.
Respect your opponent. You know. And they do something, just walk away and play the next play. You know, that's all. You know, don't. You know, I've never understood it. I've seen the pros. I see it in college. A guy makes a big play, or you know, and I see it in high school. I mean, our guys have done it. You know, it happens. You know, make a big play and you know, sack or something, and you know, taunt somebody and get 15 yards. What'd you do?
Yeah,
you gave him 15 yards in the first down. I don't understand that. You work your tail off to get that sack, and then you blow it. You know, I don't understand that. You know, but and we try to preach on that. But
I heard, I think it was Dip actually one time tell his son. He said, I think he ran for a touchdown, and he did some taunting, celebrating. He said, "Act like you've been here before. Don't act like this is the first touchdown you've ever scored. You know,
that's great.
Act like
that's
you've been here before."
Great. Yes,
you know?
I tell our guys that. You know. We've scored before. I understand. I want you.
Yeah, you want to celebrate.
I want emotion and playing with, but hand the ball to the ref because that's the rule.
Yeah.
You know, we're not in the NFL where we can do whatever we want to do, and hand the ball to the refs. Celebrate with your teammates. Don't taunt that other guy.
Yeah.
And let's go kick the extra point. You know, but sometimes that's hard. That's hard when that's what kids watch on TV is the NFL.
That's
and
big.
You know, college football. You know, they get. You know, I mean, I love it. I watch it all the time. But you know, when that's what they see, and that's what they show, ESPN shows it highlights. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the highlights they show, and then here your kids, you say you can't do that. Well, the best player in the world did.
Right.
Well,
yeah. Well, he had to go. He had to go through what you were going through before he got there.
That is true.
Yeah. But I agree with you. You know, they watch ESPN Top 10. You know, they see those. They see that dance. They see the reaction that it gets, you know, and I can understand that. One of the things that I as a dad, I always, like I said, I don't try and criticize my son too much on the athletics itself, but I always tell him about attitude. Like, coaches are watching, so if you make a bad play, and maybe you make 2 in a row or 3 in a row, and you get pulled, if it's basketball, if you go sit on the bench, or if it's football and you come stand on the sideline, and the first thing you go do is you go pout, I said, coaches see that, and they're not going to want to put somebody like that back in. Whereas if in your mind you think, all right, I've made a mistake, now what can I do to better that mistake, and then be ready to go back in. Like I see it with basketball. It's different with football because you're standing on the sideline. But when my son comes off the court and he sits back and he looks like he's checked out, I said, that's telling the coach I ain't ready to go back in. But are you sitting on the edge of that bench and leaned forward, cheering on your team? Are you ready to go back in? I said, those are the kinds of things. If a coach looks down the bench and he sees that one player that looks like I'm chomping at the bit to go back in, if I'm a coach, I'm picking him. Like, yeah, all right, you're in.
Yeah, that is very. You're all right. Some kids can. I talked about, I guess, handle adversity a little bit better. And we try to tell them, it's not going to go perfect. You're going to make a mistake. Mm-hmm. I tell them, I never, ever coached a game, ever, that is perfect.
The game went perfect.
In any sport you play, it's not going to be a perfect game. And, handle the adversity. Coaches hate that when they go in and pout and they want to, like, show the crowd they're mad. Mm-hmm. You know, to me, that's just go over and say, yes, sir, coach. You know, I made a mistake. I'm ready. You know. So much better, but there's a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of that in every sport there is, and that's okay. You know, it's good that you upset sometimes. That's good, But you
how
got to get over it quick.
Yeah.
You got to get over it quick.
Well, how do you use that emotion, right? All emotions are indicators of how we're feeling, right?
Right.
So when you feel that emotion of either anger or sadness, then what is that an indication of? All right, that's an indication that I've been playing bad. I feel like I'm letting my coach down. Now I just need to I need to address it. I need to be better. I need to turn that around. Like you said, you got to do it quick. It's okay to feel that emotion, but now let's spin around and get back in the game.
And that can be a week-to-week thing or a game-to-game thing where, hey, I missed 2 foul shots here, Didn't mean to. You're mad at yourself and you missed 2 foul shots. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But, next day in practice, are you going to maybe shoot a couple more? Are you going to, how are you going to correct that?
How you going to fix
it? I get mad at my son all the time when he's playing golf. He's a pretty good little golfer, not great, but pretty good. He's got a chance to be real good, but he gets too mad at himself. I said, I'll tell him. I said, Abram, what did I tell our team about play the next play?
Mm-hmm.
Play the next shot. There's nothing you can do about that. All it's going to do is evolve into the one bad shot's going to turn into a bad hole, 2 bad holes.
Compound,
You just got to. I said, and he gets. And so, if I had to answer that, I'd be a very rich man because coaches from all over the country would have me come and talk to them, and I could charge them for whatever,
Talk to their players.
Yes, if I could fix that, I'd be a very rich man. But that's tough.
You talked about coaching perfect game. This analogy just popped into my head. You said you've never coached a game that everything went perfect.
No.
Even if you look at, but in the sport of baseball. There are some pitchers who have, and I'm going to say this with quotes, have pitched a perfect game. Sure. Well, technically, most of them didn't even pitch a perfect game because batters hit the ball,
right?
But they had a perfect team behind them,
100%.
That helped bail them out. So how many times have we seen that? Even in the game of baseball, we're like, so and so pitched a perfect game. Well, yes, but so did his team played a perfect game.
Played a perfect game, but it still wasn't perfect. Batting something. There's not a perfect game out there. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some great ones, and you play very, very well, but it's not going to be perfect. It's just not going to be.
You talked about in the beginning of how you were not the success. You were not the sole success of Mayfield football. You have coaches around you. Now you did hire those coaches and you have support, but what are some things? How do you go about selecting assistant coaches to make sure that you have the most effective staff possible? What are you looking for in an assistant?
Well, I think when I hire assistant, I want a guy that takes a lot of hours, takes a lot of work. Mm-hmm. That's willing to work, but that are good. But they got to be good with kids, and they got to be. I'd like to talk about building relationships. And I tell them, look, I want your input, but, I am right now the guy in charge, or I was the guy in charge. Mm-hmm. I want your input, but, if I tell you to do this, it's what I expect, and I expect you to be loyal. Loyalty, I think, is huge in coaching.
Okay.
I have an offensive Stephen Hatchell was my offensive coordinator. Cliff Dew was my defensive coordinator. Did they make bad calls during the game? I would say, hey, we need to do this or we need to do that. We do the game plan. Has Steven ever made a bad call? Yeah, but it's on me. Mm-hmm. But I had faith in them to do their job. With my help. Obviously, we had input to call that game, mm-hmm. and. You just got to have trust in those guys. But when I'm hiring them, I can, we'll get on the board and we'll talk a little football, but then I'll ask them a little bit their philosophy. But, a lot of times I just, I find out from wherever if they've coached somewhere before. Mm-hmm. Of course, I hired Todd and Stephen Hatchell, both at, Graves County. Their dad, I knew their dad when he coached at Graves and mm-hmm. at Caldwell when he was our principal, and I just knew, hey, these guys will be good football coaches because they're from a good family, and You know, very lucky to get those guys. And then, you know, like I say, I look for people that I know care about kids. And
Yeah.
if they don't, that's when we kind of have to say, you need to do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to be a good fit. Do you ever get a coach maybe that's just not a good fit for the program?
I have before,
Yeah.
yes. And, you know, we had to let him go.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not easy to do, but not many.
Right.
Not many. I mean, most coaches I've hired have bought in and, you know, great with the program, great to work with,
Yeah.
great with kids. And,
Yeah, because like cohesiveness and being able to be part of a team, especially in an organization like Mayfield High School football, like yes, you're the leader, but you know there are different, many different cogs in the big wheel. So being able to be a part of a team, I feel like would be important too. You know.
Sure, and you know, me and you know some older coaches sometimes, you know, you got to coach your coaches. You know, how you want them to coach sometimes, and you know, don't get me wrong, we brainstorm. You know, it's not just me. We brainstorm in there and say, you know, we've changed practice the way we practice several times, and you know, ooh, I kind of like that. You know, and, you know, our our philosophy is with practice is we get out there, we get as many reps as we can get. We want to do everything fast. We want to get on and not. You know, we're usually off the field in about an hour and 40 minutes every day. Mm-hmm. You know, in the summer it's a little longer than that because you got to take more water breaks. But during the season it's about an hour and 40 minutes. So our kids are on and off the field, but we get a lot of reps in, and that's where our assistant coaches, you know, and we're all on the same page. It's scripted. You know, our whole practice is scripted from top to bottom. We know exactly what we're going to do before we walk out there. And our kids see that. You know, kids can see when a coach is not prepared.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I've walked early in my career, I walked out there and I wasn't prepared like I needed to be for practice. And it made for bad practice, and it was my fault.
Yeah.
And I've told our coaches, you know, if we have bad practice, most of the time it's our fault. Mm-hmm. If you really look at it. And, you know, and that's one thing that I did, you know, anytime we ever won a game, I try to get this to our coaches, you know, it's these kids did it. Mm-hmm. These kids won. Now, if you lose, it's not our assistant coaches. You know,
yeah.
I did a bad job coaching. We're going to do a better job coaching. That's on me, mm-hmm. you know. And kids like that, you know, they do.
I think that's one of the ways that you build trust with those players.
Sure.
Of
they know I got
ownership.
their back. I got their back. I'm going to have their back. You know, a lot of times these guys, they're out in the community, and these guys are telling them, you know, oh, you know, you got burnt for a touchdown. You know, somebody threw a pass over you, and you know, they get out in the community, like, ooh, you got burnt. You know, I said, man, you can't. You know, that's hard to overcome as a 16, 17-year-old kid or 15-year-old kid, and. Mm-hmm. You know, that's when you got to put your arm around them, and they got to know that we got their back.
Yeah.
And you know, if something ever happens, every time I'll go up to them and say, "Hey, you're okay. You know, let's go."
Yeah. You said something just then that I didn't really think about. You said you have to coach your coaches.
Sure.
And I don't know. I don't do much coaching, right? But in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, Joe Morris, he's the coach of the players, but you're also having to even the adults, you're pouring into them too. Of hey, here's how we become better coaches, so we can become a better program.
That's where I've had it so easy. The last few years, I've kept a staff together. Mm-hmm. You know, it's been a while since anybody in our staff has changed, so. I don't have to coach those guys as much, but when you get those new ones in there, you know, you got to kind of coach them, and you know, a lot of times they come, you know, a new coach that might come in, you know, they're a little intimidated because our success with, you know, all our coaches, you know, the coaches that we've been there, and they're kind of intimidated, and you know, I try to tell them what, you know, I want them to do, but mm-hmm. hey, you know, be active out there. I'll tell you if you go overboard, you know. you know, that's tough sometimes, and I understand that. You know, we had a new coach a few years ago. You know, doing a great job now. You know, but he was a little passive when he first started coming in there, but I understand that. I tell our coach he's going to get there. Trust me, he's going to be fine.
He's stepping into a new and successful program,
Correct.
trying to learn the ropes, and probably a little intimidated by all of y'all.
Well, you want to make sure he knew, you know, he didn't want to tell somebody wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and that happens.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. This brings up another question. You said for the last several years you've had the same staff with you. What have you done to help keep them loyal? Like, we'll just take, for instance, your offensive coordinator. You know, he's done well, maybe won some state championships with you. What's to keep him from saying, hey, I can go to this high school over here and be the head coach? You know,
I'm sure I'm sure they've had some other offers.
Yeah. What do you think?
You know, I don't know. Our tradition, and you know, and I think, you know, I let those guys coach.
Yeah.
I mean, now don't get me wrong. I'll say, okay, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or you know, during the game, run the ball here, or do, you know, hey, this guy's over, and no, we're not blitzing here, or something like that. You know, but I let those guys coach, and I give them. You know, we obviously have a game plan that we figure out going into the week. We have a game plan going in. Let them do their script. You know, we script offense and script defense, and you know, we get out there, and sometimes, and you know, I've done it several times. You know, with Coach Dew, or he's done it to me. You know, we talked about we can't do this. You know, our kids aren't adjusting fast enough. You know. Just do what we do, play our game, play what we do, and we lose. You know, but our kids are going to know what to do, and but how I've kept them, you know, like I give them some freedom, you know, with the offense and defense. That I give them the input, and you know, like I say, I think it's a tradition in our program, and getting to coach in late November and getting to coach in December. You know, if you're in this business, you want to help kids, but you want to coach in state championship games.
You want to win.
I'm lucky. I mean, I'm lucky. You know, I've got to coach in 14 state championship games. I know a lot of great coaches that never got to coach in a state championship game.
Yeah.
Very good coaches, just didn't have the opportunity to get there. And so I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, any coach or player or anything that's like, I'm just here for fun and I don't want to win, I would say that's hogwash.
Yes,
you know?
That's wrong. That's wrong. You do want to make them better people, but yes, you want to win.
Well, the game in itself is fun, but it's twice as fun when you're winning. You know, it's especially like if you're building a program, it can be frustrating because you might go through a couple seasons of losing seasons before you get things in place, before you get the right coaching staff. And it sounds like from you that, you know, you inherited a good program and then you kept the program going this year, and now you've passed it on, and hopefully Coach Dew takes off and he continues everything that, you know, the Mayfield High School tradition.
He's going to do great. I mean, he you know, if he wasn't a really good coach and didn't care about kids and didn't work his tail off, you know, he wouldn't have been my defensive coordinator for however many long he's been. He's been a long time. You know, he's been a part of every one of these, you know, these state championships. He's been right with me, and you know, right hand man. You know, I leaned on him. You know, there's some tough decisions to make as a coach, and you know, about a kid. You know, you're talking about a 15 or 16-year-old kid that might have made a mistake. You know, what do? You know, the easiest thing to do is, you know, you're off the team.
Yeah.
But is that the right thing to do?
Right.
You do the right thing. You know, if we, you know, certain times they force you to get rid of them.
Right.
You know, they force you. You say, yeah, this is it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm probably too lenient on it. I probably give them too many chances.
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes football is very important to that kid, and very important to his grades. Very important. You know, he might not have a parent at home that cares about his grades like we do.
Yeah.
So I'm a little lenient. You know, the easiest thing to do is get rid of them. No, you're done. But that's you know, I've leaned on him. You know, making some decisions.
Yeah.
You know, on certain kids, and you know, I think that's why he's gonna be great, because he knows I leaned on him, and he's gonna lean on his assistant coaches and on because there is some tough decisions that people do not see.
Yeah. Well, football might be the only thing keeping that kid trying. You know what I mean? Like you talked about grades and even acting right in school. And then for whatever reason, you take that away, you take the football away, then they're like, well, now I don't have any reason to even try. And so they just quit altogether. I mean, I can see where
that's 100%.
I can see where you guys as coaches, sometimes you are making decisions that are a major fork in a kid's life. You know, like maybe you giving them some grace and saying, hey, look, you've been screwing up. You're going to sit the bench a couple games, but we're going to keep you on the team. That might propel that kid down a good path. Or if you're just like you said, it's way easier to just be like, I'm tired of dealing with you. You're off the team. Then that may send that kid down a path of, well, I don't care. You know, maybe they don't have a good family life. Even my coaches have given up on me, and then they go down that road.
I think that's what my dad. I got a lot of that from my dad. You know, he told me to never give up. You know, especially a young kid. You know, now he says sometimes they're going to force you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're going to force your hand. You got to. You know, and you know, I've had to do it several times. You know, over my career, but you know, my dad always told me, you know, never give up on a young kid, and I think that's one reason our program has been so successful. We've had. You know, it'd been easy to give up on this guy that was the worst player on the freshman team. He's the worst freshman that we had. I'll tell a story. He was the worst freshman that I had on our whole football team. I was coaching freshmen, and if he hears this podcast, he'll know what I'm talking about. But I don't want to mention his name, but he'll know it. But anyway, long, lanky kid, worst player. Just first year to come out was his freshman year. And hardly got in the game. But, you know, he stayed out there. He got in the weight room, got bigger and stronger. He ended up being an all-state. His junior year was like a second-team all-state offensive tackle. Senior year was an all-state tackle. He also was I think his two-time champion in the shot put.
Wow.
And he was the worst player on he was the worst player in our program when he was a freshman.
Wow.
From freshman up.
Yeah.
And I told that story one time at the Paducah Chamber of Commerce at their meeting.
Yeah.
Our Rotary Club or something over in Paducah. They had me speak. Yeah, it was a Rotary Club of Paducah. For some reason, they wanted me to speak over there, and I had a speech. I was telling that story. Sure enough, he was in the crowd.
Wow.
He came up to me and said, "You're talking about me, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, sir."
Yes,
And he love him today. He's doing great, and you know. Did we make a small difference in his life? Probably.
Yeah, that's cool. And those are memories that you can look back on and just think, you know, hey, I did make a difference here. Have you ever had any of those kids like you had to show them some tough love, and then they, because of that, then they came back maybe say the next season or so, and were better, you know?
Oh yeah. We've had to get rid of kids before and come back and play. And, you know, I've had kids that quit that halfway through the season, Coach, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's too late now. But, you know, you live and learn. And, you know, but, yeah, we've had especially some younger guys that, you know, just said, you know, when, you know, they didn't see, you know, kids need – instant gratification, I guess you want to call it. You know, they got to see the field now, you know. And you got to understand how come, you know, I was a star in 7th grade. I was a star in 8th grade. Well, how come I'm not playing in 9th grade? Well, you're playing against 11th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders, you know. You got to earn your keep. I just don't know if I want to do that, you know. You know, that's what we play JV games. You're going to get in a few varsity games, and that's, you know, before you snap a finger, you're going to be gone. I'm just telling you, you're going to be gone. And They understand that.
Yeah, we live in an age of instant gratification now, just like we call it around here the J.G. Wentworth mentality, right? It's mine and I want it now. You know
Yes,
that commercial? It's my
that's-
money and I want it now. Or
that
it's
is
my
correct.
blessing and I want it now, and a lot of it is because of these.
I do think, that's our program, and that's one reason our program has been successful is we've had a lot of guys that just hung in there and played 1 year, started 1 year, but they just kept, just kept working, and they said, I'm going to be that player. I had a guy, gosh, 5, 6, 7 years ago, small. I mean, guy weighed about 180 pounds, played left tackle, but he gave me everything. He gave me everything he had. He came out, couldn't play as a freshman, didn't play as a sophomore. His junior year, he saw he probably wasn't going to start, be a backup, and he come in going to quit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, the guy just worked his tail off in the weight room, worked his tail off. Just wasn't big, just didn't have the talent.
Right.
But I did see, and I think that was one thing that I've learned. I saw something that maybe this guy's going to play one day.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to my office one during school one day. He thought he was going to quit. And I talked him out of it. I said, man, I'm just telling you, you just keep working like this. I said, guys like you find the field. Some way find the field.
Right.
I said, I'm not guaranteeing that, but I'm not guaranteeing you're going to be the starter. But I said, just stay with us. After the season's over, man, he came gave me a hug. Thank you, Coach. You're right. And he started. His senior year, he started every game. Man, happiest guy in the world.
That's awesome.
I'll never forget, we went over there, and his very first start as a senior. Had 2 offensive linemen been starting. He was an offensive lineman. We were scrimmaging over at Callaway, I believe it was. And these 2, Coach, he's nervous. Jack is nervous over here.
Mm-hmm.
I said, why is Jack nervous? He said, he's never started a game his whole life. From 3rd grade through the middle school never, this is his first start. I said, you're kidding. I didn't realize, He said, now he's played some, but he never started a game. I said, wow, that's cool. Of course, he had a great senior year.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I think we won it that year.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. I've gotten that advice before from some other dads who have sons a little bit older than mine, and I think I was discouraged with like playing time and things like that, and I was just talking to some dads about it, and I think even my son was a little bit discouraged, thinking about quitting or doing something, focusing on another sport or something, and he said, this dad told me, he said, just tell him to keep showing up. Just keep showing up and keep working hard. And he said, you'll be surprised. I guess his son, like freshman year, was like not even getting very few reps, as like a receiver, DB, And then by the end of his sophomore year, he's starting games.
Yeah.
He said, by the end of the sophomore year, last couple games and even in the playoffs, then he was starting those games. And then last year was his junior year, and he had an outstanding year. And, this coming year he's going to be a senior. He'll probably have another outstanding year, But that was encouragement too. Basically what you said, just keep showing up, keep working hard. And if you're a hard worker, you'll find the field.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if you got hard work and in high school football, you can find a spot on the field most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
I got one more question for you, Joe, before we wrap up.
Okay.
Like we live in Western Kentucky, in the Bible Belt. We talked a little bit about, obviously my studio's in my church. You said you go to a local church down the road. Does your faith, does it ever come into play in coaching? Do you use some of those same principles? How does that look? What does that look like? How do
you got to be careful how you use, your faith in schools alone, but yes, I mean, there's a lot of times, you go home and you pray for a kid, you pray for, a guy that got injured, a guy, absolutely, if you got to do that daily.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's Sometimes it's for specific, sometimes it's just general, you know, and you know, whether it's for your family or whatever. But you know, that's you know, faith and family is, you know, what it's about. And you know, we try to preach to our kids all the time. And you know, we got a Coach Hatchell. He does a great job with our, you know, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's bigger than ever at Mayfield High School right now, and that's because of Coach Hatchell. And but you know, you got to kind of be careful where you go there. But absolutely, you got to use faith in any type of, you know, any type of job.
Yeah,
I mean, any type in my book.
In anything that we do, yeah. I have a saying, you know, a lot of the people have heard it, and I didn't come up with this, but I thought it was so good. You know, a lot of times people say, well, you know, God should be number one on your list. And I say he shouldn't be. He should be the piece of paper that you write your list on. So, you know, God and our faith should encompass everything we do. And just in our talk today, I feel like you've built that in your program without saying it. You know, a lot of the principles that you teach your kids, a lot of the values, you know, we haven't hardly spoke faith or God at all, but I can see it and hear it all through your program, even though we haven't really come out and said it.
Yeah, like you said, you use the principles to that. You know, whether you're using it, that's a different story. You know, using actually his name.
Yeah.
But you know, just with the, you know, like you said, the relationships, the love, and we love. I mean, you know, we love our guys. You know, we hug them. You know, I'm going to miss that. You know, that's what I'm going to miss about coaching. You know.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up. You're retiring, and what you got? What's next for Joe Morris?
You know, I'm going to sit back. You know, I'm working for a guy part time. You know, just sitting back, relaxing, not. You know, being athletic director and coach, you know, people don't understand sometimes, you know, you're putting, you know, 50, 60-hour weeks in, a lot of weeks. You know, now, a lot of times I'm sitting there watching a basketball game, but you're still there. And, you know, if you've done that for 25 years and you're gone, you know, 3 nights a week to games, sometimes 4 nights a week. You know, it gets long. You know, just like during football season, it's you know, we play a Monday night junior varsity game. You know, you got Tuesday or Thursday, you got a middle school game you need to be at. Friday night, you got your own game. Saturday, you got Little League. You know, but I'm gonna sit back. You know, I got you know, like I said, a part-time job. It's gonna keep me busy, enjoying it. I'm gonna be a big parent. Yeah. For my kids, and going to enjoy being a parent instead of a coach sitting on the sideline or sitting in the stands watching my son play football. And it's going to be different. Yeah, it's going to be different for the Morris family. It's been like 50, I think they said 55, 56 years since Morris has not been coaching on the sideline at Mayfield. Oh, that's cool. I said, wow, that's crazy. So
maybe something for Abram to think about one of these days.
I don't know. Maybe.
I just keep coming up with questions. I'm sorry, but I think that you have such a unique perspective, you know, of somebody who's, you know, grew up in this tradition and then got to live it out. Now you're getting the opportunity to step away from it. Are you worried about a lack of purpose? You know, this has kind of been your, in a sense, your purpose for most of your life. Are you worried about maybe a lack of purpose now?
No, I don't think so. Okay. You know, I mean, I did it 37 years. I had a lot of people, you know. I mean, this wasn't just a decision I made at the last second. Right. And, you know, I made probably a decision way earlier than I told people. I just couldn't make myself say it. Mm-hmm. You know, I guess because I was still scared, but, you know, but I knew. And, I had some family members that were coaches. You know, I got to know a lot of coaches, been fortunate to get to know a lot of coaches, talked to some retired coaches. And, you know, every one of them told me, said, Joe, when it's time to go, you will know. Mm-hmm. You will know. And I just knew, you know, I knew probably in about January it was time, maybe even earlier than that, you know, that it was just time to go. And why? I don't know. Maybe it just it's great, but it does sometimes wear on you.
Yeah.
You know, just the hours and the time, and you want every kid to do right. You know, you don't want the the phone calls sometimes at nights, and you're away from your family. You're at games all the time, and but I don't know what it was, but it was just the right time.
Yeah. And we talked at lunch. You said, hey, for a couple of weeks now, you've been working this part-time job,
Yeah,
and it was nice when you get off at 3:30, just no responsibility, be able to go home and rest and be with your family and stuff like that. So.
I can go out, live pretty close to the golf course, go out and play a few holes of golf, and relax, and it's been fun. I mean, I've been blessed.
Yeah.
Good Lord has blessed me with coaching this team. And being in this community and winning a lot of football games. I mean, you think about it. You look around, how many coaches get to stay at one place, for 25 years or basically for 37 years or my whole life? Coaches, hey, if you don't win a couple games, they're ready to fire you right now. And I got to go out on top.
Winning a state championship.
It's
awesome.
With great group of kids. Had great coaches. I think the program's in great shape. Coach Dew's going to do a great job, and I think the program's going to keep right on rolling. And I hope they bring another one home next year.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like I said, I'm crosstown rival, but I love to see my community win regardless.
Yes.
You just want to see people.
You don't like us on that first August out there, but after that, hey, let's good luck, guys.
When we're on the same field,
that's different.
Then we can be not friends. But then after that, of course, I'm rooting for my hometown. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
And you talked about your tenure there, 25 years. I wouldn't even know how many coaches Graves County went through in your 25 years as head coach.
It's been a bunch.
It's been a bunch, and just trying to figure out the right person and scheme and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to get to sit down with Tyler, hopefully in a couple of weeks. So I'm excited.
Tyler's going to do well.
I'm excited to, this season is going to be really cool because I started with you, somebody that's been around or in the program your whole life, 25 years as a head coach. And now I'm gonna get to sit down here in a couple weeks with a young man, who this is his first head coaching role, and just see the difference is going to be so cool. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I may have name dropped you just to get him. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be talking to Joe. It'd be cool if you came too. I don't know if that pushed him over the edge or not, but he's a great guy.
He is. Tyler do well.
Yeah, I know he's gonna be good. And like you said, no matter when you decided to quit, there would be some people who would be upset about it. I'm not going to mention any names, but I talked to a gentleman at the gym the other day, and he said he was very upset, about you retiring because his son was a freshman. And he said, man, just 3 more. If he could have gave me 3 more years, But if you would have waited, then there would have been another dad who's, man, my son's a freshman. So.
There's always going to be that one team that you have to tell.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and like you said, I just felt like it was the right time.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate, and there might be another parent out there saying, I'm glad that old guy's gone.
It might be.
But that does make you feel good when there's people out there, and there's been several people. Man, I wish you'd stay. I said, man, everything's going to be good. Coach Dew's going to do a great job.
Yeah,
everything's going to be great. Everybody's replaceable, and he's going to be good.
Like you said, y'all have built a good program, and you did not make or break the program.
Sure.
And it was a team effort. So
absolutely.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you coming and sitting down with me, and it's been enjoyable. I'm looking forward to what Mayfield continues to do, and I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Hey, I'm just going to do what I told my team: play the next play.
Play the next play.
That's all you can do.
All right, I'm going to pray for us if you don't care, and then we'll
great.
call it. Dear God, I just thank you for this time that I've spent with Joe Morris, and just God, I thank you for his time that he's put in with our community. I thank you for the values and the things that he's instilled in the young men around, and how he's essentially a pillar of this community. And I thank you for men like that. I thank you for men who aren't afraid to step up and to raise up men who are going to just help better the community, better, our state, better this nation, better the world. God, we just pray that we be about your business and do your will. And I see in his program your values, and I see your morals, and I see those things instilled in their program. So we just thank you for that. Lord, I pray a blessing over him as he moves forward and through retirement. And just forgive us where we fail you, and don't let us put somebody in our path, God, that we can reach and we can help. And it's in your Son's holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much, Joe. Till next time, stay ready.